Welcome back to the Mojo Sports Show, located at www.mojosportshow.com.
We are Ucaster.
And Ucaster. Don't forget Ucaster, live on Ucaster right now.
It's easy to forget when it's the first day. And
Yeah, it happens to the best of us. We are going to talk a little Major League Baseball. What do you think, fellas? Can you manufacture any storylines here on May, what is it, 14th?
Well, I guess that there's a little bit about the goose, the golden goose, calling out some Yankees.
Jabba Chamberlain's actions, I think it was about a week ago now, really have stirred up a lot of controversy. He gave up a 3-run homer on a Monday night against Cleveland and blew a save
to light-hitting Dave DeLucci.
And then 2 nights later came back and struck out DeLucci in a 3-run game in favor of the Yankees. And he had a very emotional celebration as he left the mound, and it is stirred up all types of controversy. And let's just talk about it. Before we get into what Goose said, what do you guys think? I mean, Jabba's not the only one. There's a lot of pitchers out there doing this kind of stuff. Where are you with this kind of stuff?
Well, I've always said it's un-Yankee-like. Whenever I hated it when Francisco Rodriguez would pump his chest.
Still does it.
Jorge Posada, we used to just yell out at him, used to get very upset when pitchers like him and Papelbon would just go out there and be all showmanship and showy. I don't think it's Yankee-like. I think he goes over the top. However, that being said, I don't know. I mean, this is who he is. Do we really want to change who he is as a person?
That who he is argument is the lamest argument that I've heard.
But is it who he is or is it not who he is? I guess
no, because you can harness it and you don't have to show other people up. The thing is, okay, if you're a pitcher and you do this, it's a lot different than if you're a hitter and you do this. I think it's more excusable if you're a hitter, because if you're a hitter and you parade around, you could get a 98 mile per hour fastball at your chin the very next at bat, or someone else would pay for it. But if you're a pitcher, you have nothing to lose. You have nothing to lose by doing this, by showing other people up. I draw the line at a Takashi Saito nice little jab into the air, a little fist bump.
Or you could be like Mariano, who basically just walks off and doesn't look like.
Did he get that?
Happened.
Did he get the save? Because I don't know if he does, depending on his reaction.
Oh, that's exactly
you want to see a little bit of a reaction. I mean, you want. I mean, baseball and sports, especially in those crunch time moments in which closers usually have, it does mean something, and you do want to see a little bit, but you have to harness, you have to control it. And if you're Jabba Chamberlain and what I take from it...
what's he going to do? Do that in the third inning when he strikes out Manram?
No.
First and second, if he starts, if he's not coming out of the bullpen, would he handle himself the same way? I guess is what I'm asking.
But I think that when you get down to crunch time and it's like the 6th or 7th inning and he needs to get out of a jam, you're going to see that same intensity. But I think that you need to harness it towards, instead of, showing other people up, just play your game. It's the same kind of thing. And I just think that when it comes down to it is... pitchers have the advantage because they can't have anything be done to them.
You're right, because they don't hit. You're absolutely right.
2 minor things for me. With Jabba, I've always hated it when Papelbon's done it. I've always hated it when K-Rod's done it. I've always hated it when everybody else does it. So I hate it when Jabba does it. I can't have a double standard just because I'm a Yankees fan. I don't like when he does it. Here's my biggest problem with the last time. I can understand, and I think he did it last year during a playoff game. He ended up blowing it the next inning when he came out, so maybe it's bad karma. But I can understand if you come into a playoff game in a little bit of a jam and you get out of there, and like you said, you give it the fist pump, and then you're gone. He kind of does a little dance.
It was more than that.
Yeah, he does a little. He does a little dancing with the stars.
Does like a chainsaw.
But this was not a big spot. He had a 3-run lead in absolutely no trouble.
Right.
That is my problem with it.
Like I think that David DeLucci is more of a level-headed guy than and he's a cagey veteran. He's a veteran.
His home run,
and he's been there, and his home run was very big.
It was bigger than Jabba's strikeout 2 nights later, way bigger.
And if he is running around and parading up and down and throwing his fists in the air,
you catch one in the chin.
Yeah, exactly,
absolutely.
But here's the thing: is I just don't know. Jabba Chamberlain, he hasn't really been. I guess educated as to how to perform in the major. I mean, he's only been
in the league for... He's got the perfect
for,
teacher. He ought to just listen.
For a year.
He ought to just watch him.
What you got to do.
Mo's probably not
just
going to
listen
tell
to
him
Mo.
what to do. Just watch him what he does.
Listen to Mo.
If Mo gives you this, you maybe.
Absolutely.
But, let's talk about some closers who aren't in as good a standing right now as Mariano Rivera, or ex-closers. So now they've been demoted, and actually one of them asked out of the closer role. I'm talking about the Cardinals' ex-closer. Maybe he'll be back.
Actually, I mean, we're talking about Eric Gagne and Jason Isringhausen, both National League Central closers. Actually, I was watching the broadcast a couple of nights ago. Maybe it was last night, and Gagne also, I mean, Ned Yost was planning to have Gagne in the closer's role, but Gagne kind of made some comments to the media that weren't completely full of zeal for being a closer,
sure.
And he wasn't totally confident.
Guy that, like Jabba.
But here's the thing: when you're a closer, you need to just, if you have to fake the confidence, you fake it. But you need to be the guy that when everyone turns to, they're like, okay, you know what? We're only up by 2 runs. We're only up by 1 run. We need to give the ball to someone. You need to be that guy who comes up, who shows up, who has the, their song, like you have Hell's Bells in San Diego for Trevor Hoffman, or
and Enter Sandman for Wagner and Rivera.
You need to be that guy.
Yeah,
I couldn't agree with you more.
I agree.
The Isringhouse situation is so much scarier than Eric Gagne for me, because Isringhouse lacks what you're talking about, that false sense of security. Even closers on their way out of the closer role in the history, they still think they can close. Isringhouse is asking his way out of that role.
Yeah, it's awful.
I would never let him close for me again.
Yeah,
he only signed a
good.
1-year deal. Cut your losses. That mentality is gone. So I would only trust him on 1 or 2. I mean, once every other
Justin,
night.
I wouldn't trust him at all. I don't think. I really wouldn't.
That's not good.
I don't think that he's got what it takes anymore. I don't know if somewhere along the line he must have lost that edge. You have to have an edge if you're a closer in this day and age.
You have to.
You have to go out there and you have to think that no one's going to touch you.
They are
no one's
probably
going to beat you.
The most confident pitcher on most teams.
Absolutely.
I mean, they usually are. Here's my question about Gagne. And this is the era we live in, and I hate that we live in this, but I have a serious, serious chemical question about Eric Gagne. Was he, or could he be, a product of the chemicals? Because Gagne went through a stretch when all the hitters were going through that stretch. He was unreal, but it was a very short period of time, at least short compared to some of the more closers with more longevity, like a decade. Could Gagne be chemicals? He was named in the Mitchell Report.
Yeah.
Does that ever cross your mind with Gagne? That's my question.
It's crossed my mind ever since he started getting hurt with the Dodgers 3 years ago.
That too.
But even before that, I mean, I saw him as a starting pitcher. I remember when he first got called up, and he was a starting pitcher. He was throwing 90, 91, and he wasn't that big. He was very skinny. And then you come back the next year, and he just implodes. And I've been saying the same thing. I mean, I've been.
Explodes? You mean gets big?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I mean, you have the biggest. I mean, for the Dodgers, I've been the.
You're a big Dodger fan. We know that you're a diehard Dodger fan. I mean, and that's fine.
No. You're not listening. You let me finish my statement. When it comes to the Dodgers, I've been, the harshest critic when it comes to Paul LaDuca taking steroids or taking HGH. Eric Gagne. I mean, there are a lot of guys who I see coming from the Dodgers, and I actually know some people who were on the Dodgers staff that say that these guys possibly very, very probably were taking stuff, and so that's why I fault the major league clubs, coaching staffs, every sort of thing.
Yeah. Sadly enough, it's not just a Dodger issue.
But anyways,
it's a baseball issue.
But anyways, Gagne, there's no doubt in my mind, it's my opinion, no doubt in my mind that he was taking performance-enhancing drugs.
I would agree, and that's come up for me a lot lately, and I wish it was just a Gagne, Giambi, just a couple people, but it's everybody, and we can't trust what we see on the field anymore, and that's awful.
Thing. Anytime I see a pitcher a pitcher or a hitter or what have you, who was successful in the late 90s or early 2000s, that goes on the DL, that goes on anytime I see that, I think
we got to be suspicious.
You're probably steroids and HGH, and it's sad to say, but that's how widespread it was, in my opinion. I think that
sad.
85-90% were taking.
And we got to close out segment 2 right now. Please click on segment 3. We're going to talk NFL Power Rankings.